idea for the show.
I still don't know what the idea is.
It's about nothing.
Right.
Everybody's doing something. We'll do nothing.
They say, what's your show about? I say nothing.
There you go.
I think you may have something here.
Cross Coast Spice presents the League About Nothing podcast.
Can you hear me? I cannot hear you. I'm good. Are you sure your microphone is actually on?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, no, I can hear you now.
There we go.
I think we have a new cold open right there. All right, everybody, welcome back. We have episode 2 of our season preview. We're going to be going through 4 more teams' rosters today, going position by position, checking everybody out. And we are going to cover JMC's team, Ruggs' team, Flinch's team, and GeorgiaMike's team today.
Hey, spoiler alert.
I mean, it's going to be in the description you write.
Nobody reads.
The entire league is text-based. No one ever talks. The only time they talk is when we invite them here. No one reads. All right. We're going to jump straight into JMC's roster here. JMC currently named public hater number 1 for the time being. He is in the frisky tier, and his
along
team,
with most of the league.
Yeah, no, this is we started the frisky tier last week. We had 3 teams, or 2 teams in the frisky tier, so we're still in the same tier that we were previously. And actually, we'll give another spoiler. All 4 of these teams are in the frisky tier this week, so it's flat tier this week. JMC, according to Dynasty Daddy, with a currently 40% chance to make the playoffs. So he's slightly ahead of Flea, who was our last team last week. Flea had a 23% chance, so JMC about double that. He has an overall rank of 11, and we're going to start off with his QB room, which is currently also ranked 11. This one is a fairly short list. He has J.J. McCarthy, Baker Mayfield, and Will Levis. Will Levis already done for the year, so it's really just J.J. McCarthy and Baker Mayfield.
Right. This is about as thin of a quarterback room as you could have, while also having 2 locked in every week starters.
Yeah.
Because that's it. No wasted backups on this roster.
I mean, it is good use of his roster spots. If you look at it that way, he's not getting any zeros like the rest of us from those backups he's carrying.
Yep. And we've talked about, there's been several teams now where they have 2 locked in starters and that's it. And this is another team in that list. Probably why this tier is so large. A lot of these teams have very similar construction.
Yeah, I mean, he's got Baker, who's coming off his best career year, and Baker last season finished as a QB1. Like, he was in the top 12. I don't remember his exact finish, but
I believe he was QB4 overall.
Yeah, he had a very good season. Now, obviously, we don't expect quite the same level from Baker, but even if he's
40 touchdowns.
It seems unlikely that that'll repeat. But even if he's, closer to the Baker he has been over the last few years, that's still probably back-end QB1. That's a solid starter for you.
Yep.
So a lot of this really hinges on what we see from J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah, 100%. He's the ultimate unknown. I mean, he didn't have a single snap for his entire rookie year.
Right.
But the Vikings showed some faith in him by letting Darnold walk and basically handing the reins over. They didn't bring in any legitimate veteran competition for him. So this is the Vikings and JMC are both going to sink or swim based on how J.J. McCarthy does this year.
Yeah. And we're a couple weeks into training camp now, and pretty much every other day you get a report that's like, wow, J.J. McCarthy looks like a future Hall of Famer. And then the next day it's J.J. McCarthy not sharp in practice today. So I have no idea what to expect. I don't know what to believe.
That sounds like basically every team report from every player. It's just, depending on who you talk to is how the player performed.
Yeah. It's I guess it's based on what the individual beat reporters think is going to happen, and they want to be on the record early.
Oh, and these guys are notorious for their accurate takes. Right?
So obviously McCarthy's walking into a good system. He's got a very QB friendly coach and a good stable of targets to throw the ball to. Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson. You can't complain about what he's got around him. So it's basically on him to show what he's got.
Yep, he's in the right situation.
All right, that I feel like we shouldn't be moving on from quarterback this quickly, but there's not really much else to say here, is there?
No, that's it. Those are the two.
Right. JMC, go add some backups so that we can talk a little longer next time. Oh, before we move on to the next position, I did notice in chat that Mr. Good News complained that we didn't spend long enough on his team, so we're going to do an extra 20 minutes on the rest of his roster at the end of this.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
After the show.
All right, we're going to move on here. We're going to go over to the running back room. Running back rank of 7, so middle of the pack here. But what JMC does have is some guys that are capable of those big boom weeks. He's got Devon Achane, Travion Henderson, Bashal Tootin, Ray Davis, Jalen Wright, Bouchard Smith, and some backups. But those top 3 names all are basically known for their home run ability. Tootin's a little bit of projection in that, but he's just as fast as those other 2.
Yeah, he's definitely got a type here. He's got a bunch of very similar splash play running backs on this roster.
And that's kind of a really good thing to have in a best ball league. You're going to obviously have splash weeks from them, but you're also going to have down weeks where they don't splash, or where they disappoint, and basically if they were in your lineup, you wish they weren't. So in the best ball, they won't be.
Yeah, because outside of HN, I mean, most of these other guys are either strict backups or in committees. So at least he has players who don't need a lot of touches to impact fantasy. If you're going to have a bunch of bench running backs, you might as well have the guys that can score at any point on any touch.
Yeah. And I think that's why he drafted Henderson and Tootin this year, because he had options when he took Henderson in specific. There was still a lot of different running backs on the board there. I'm pretty sure Judkins was still on the board. I'm pretty sure Caleb Johnson was still on the board, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he picked this style or maybe it was just the individual player, but he picked this style of building.
Yeah, definitely purposeful.
Yeah. And if you recall correctly, someone predicted that in our mock draft episode. So the bottom end of the roster, he's got Antonio Gibson, Rasheen Ali, Carson Steele, Ali and Steele. Who knows if they even make their teams? Gibson's the third man in that New England backfield, so he's probably a good handcuff to keep for Henderson. Not really a lot to say about Ali or Steele. I don't think they do anything worth noting this year.
Yeah, probably guys that are not going to be in the running back rotation really, but I mean, at this point, just hold everybody because you never know what kind of injuries happen in the in training camp, in the preseason. These guys are on rosters, so they're worth holding right now.
Yep. And also worth noting that Jalen Wright is the backup, or one of the backups in Miami. I guess we don't know exactly how that will shake out, but if something were to happen to HN, I think a lot of people expect Wright would step into that role.
Yeah, he'll step into some role at least.
Well, maybe. He didn't last year.
Well, last year they had other guys. This year they have Alexander Madison.
Let's move on to the wide receiver room. He's got a wide receiver rank of 5. So this one's slightly better than average. Top name here is Malik Neighbors. We heard it last year. JMC had Neighbors as his number 1 wide receiver in the class. Sure looks like a good take right now. I'm sure people would quibble still, but obviously Neighbors had a phenomenal rookie year. Zay Flowers, Josh Downs, Kyle Williams, Calvin Ridley, Adonai Mitchell. I'm going to stop there for now. Maybe I should have stopped at Ridley instead of Mitchell, but that's okay. These are some solid wide receiver ones on their team, and also Kyle Williams.
Yeah, we don't know what we're going to get out of Kyle Williams this year.
Or anyone in New England.
Right. Yeah, that could be a big mess for fantasy. We know that whoever gets on the field is going to have an opportunity if we're expecting Drake May to progress. But we're not counting on him for any early season production at least. But it's really anchored by Malik Neighbors. I mean, Zay Flowers, Josh Downs have been very efficient players on kind of a low volume role. We'll see if that changes this year. It's tough based on what we project out of those two offenses.
Yeah.
Calvin Ridley, he's going to be the guy in Tennessee. He's playing with a rookie quarterback. We don't know what we're going to get out of Cam Ward. Hopefully better than what they got last year. It's not a very high bar to clear. And Ridley was fairly productive last year in this environment. So it should be good production for Ridley.
You have to assume it gets better. I know that the numbers on rookie quarterbacks supporting top-end wide receivers are pretty bad, but it's got to be better, right?
It would be difficult to be worse than what they rolled out last year.
Or Will Levis.
Well, it wasn't just him.
That's true. Yeah. I'm not going to say poor Mason Rudolph. Poor us for having to watch that.
Right. But he's also got a lot of depth in this room. I mean, he's got guys like Brandon Cooks. He's got guys like Tesla, who flashed in the preseason, Hollywood Brown. Even a guy like Jermaine Burton is having a very good training camp, especially after what he went through last year. I wasn't sure he was going to survive the
not
season.
Not a high
on the
bar
roster.
to clear right there.
But if he gets any kind of production from these guys, Pat Bryant, suddenly he's got a very, very deep wide receiver room.
Yeah, and he's got a bunch of young guys that could just surprise and suddenly be a big part of their offense. It's not like these are the crusty old veterans wide receiver threes who are, going to go out there and get you 40 catches for 500 yards. Those are useful pieces sometimes, but a lot of these guys are young, maybe not exciting, but young, still on their first contract in somewhat unclear situations who could easily resolve into something better.
Yeah, he did a lot of work this offseason, especially through the draft, kind of reloading this team that was a perennial contender and took a little bit of a step back last year. But he's definitely gotten a lot younger and a lot deeper through the draft. He's got a lot of rookies here between the running back room and this wide receiver room.
Any of these guys that you think will step up into a big role this year?
I mean, outside of the obvious guys, it's just a matter of these guys the lower guys getting opportunities.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Do you have a favorite of the Kyle Williams, Pat Bryant, Tesla, Burton Baker, those, young guys who are, potentially able to make a leap?
I mean, the guy in the best position right now is not a young guy. It's probably Hollywood Brown.
Yeah, that's true.
We don't know what we're going to get and how long Rice is going to be suspended. We saw the Addison 3-game suspension earlier today.
Yeah,
so you got to assume that Rice is going to be somewhere in that neighborhood, if not longer, based on the
Addison was
offenses.
the substance abuse. It wasn't even the Rice situation is a little bit more serious, I guess. Like it's not, he's going to get more than 3 games is what I'm saying.
Right, that's what we're expecting. So there'll be opportunity if Hollywood Brown can stay on the field. When you're playing with a guy like Patrick Mahomes and their newfound aggression, old-found aggression?
I don't know. I already told you.
Newly found old aggression?
I don't remember which show I said it on. It was months ago, but 4,500 and 45 this year for Mahomes.
Yeah, I think that they'll need it too.
Yeah. The wide receivers there in camp, or half of them are hurt right now. We have...
Including Hollywood, unfortunately.
Yeah. So all the buzz about the wide receivers in that room, and I've been following it pretty closely for unrelated reasons to Hollywood Brown, but it seems like all the buzz that they're talking about is guys like Tyquan Thornton. I don't know what to expect out of that room right now.
Somebody's got to be out there catching passes from Patrick Mahomes. There's opportunity there for someone. The rest of these guys are a little buried at the moment. I mean, we don't know what we're going to get out of Pat Bryant, Kyle Williams. We know that Tesla is going to be behind Tim Patrick for that big slot or X role. There's probably going to be some sub packages based on the explosiveness that he brings versus Tim Patrick. And we'll see how he can handle some of the dirty stuff, blocking. Patrick's a very good blocker, helps the run game tremendously. So that'll determine how much he gets on the field. If he does get opportunity, again, that's another high-powered offense.
Yeah.
Same with Jermaine Burton if he can steal some snaps from Yoshi. A lot of these guys have opportunities.
All right, let's move on. But before we do, has anyone informed Big that Trey Palmer is on JMC's roster? He might want to go out and, acquire him.
Has he given up on Trey Palmer yet?
I can only assume so. Whatever, don't go get Trey Palmer. Take whatever offer you were gonna and go over and offer it to. I think is it Mel that has Rico Dowdle right now? Yeah, Dowdle's on Mel's roster. Just go make the offer over there instead. You need, Anyway. All right, we're gonna move on to the tight end room. Tight end room rank of 8. So again, we're in the middle of the pack for a lot of these ranks. This is a somewhat thin room though, highlighted by incoming rookie Colston Loveland. Loveland dropped in our rookie draft. I'm sure JMC was happy to see. I don't know if he had a preference between Loveland and Warren, but I'm sure he was happy to see one of those guys fall to him. He's also got Chiga Okonkwo, Darnell Washington, and Jelani Woods.
Yeah, that Loveland pick was huge. This room looks a lot different without Colston Loveland in it, both this year and going forward. That was a need pick that fell right in his lap.
Yeah, and I let it happen. Yeah, I never should have done
it. We'll get to your roster.
It's a room that, even with Loveland, there are going to be some rough weeks, I think, because Washington and Woods are not even going to give you a baseline a lot of the time.
Yeah, Washington is basically strictly a blocker, especially now they brought in Jonnu Smith. There's even less tight end receptions to go around. He's essentially been an extra tackle. And Jelani Woods, I mean, we don't even know if he's going to make the roster at this point. He's been on IR for 2 straight seasons. Yeah, so it could just be Chiga Okonkwo this year and whatever he gets from Loveland as a part-time player, sharing snaps with Cole Kmet. We'll see. Going forward, it gives him a lot of promise at least.
Honestly, though, this is not an entirely new situation for JMC. We were reviewing his roster a lot of weeks. It would be Kelsey and then, hey, did Jonnu Smith score this week?
Right.
So if Loveland can play that Kelsey role and give him a baseline, then it'll just be, oh, did Chig do anything this week? Yeah. All right, great. He's in the lineup. No, didn't do anything? Well, he's in the lineup anyways.
It's another guy that's going to be helped or hindered by Cam Ward's progression this year.
Yeah, very much so.
A lot of targets to go around outside of Ridley.
I try to avoid Giants players on my team because I'm a Giants fan and they can hurt me enough without ruining my fantasy day as well. But I do kind of like that a bunch of guys in our team like having their real life fan team on their roster as well. Like, JMC being a Titans fan, I like that he likes having Titans on the roster. Same thing with, Flinch, and like he's got the Broncos on the roster, and in Criddle he's got the Eagles on the roster. It's just, it is entertaining to me.
Yeah, it's always fun to root for your guys.
Yeah. All right, we're going to move over to the draft rank. JMC has a draft rank of 10. This is a bit of an interesting one. He has no 26 capital whatsoever, but he has 2 first-round picks in 27 and then a third-round pick and a fourth-round pick. So no second-round pick that year and no capital in this upcoming draft, but still he's got a little bit extra the year after.
Yeah, he did a lot of work with future capital to add pieces this year.
I know I ended up with that first-round pick.
Right. That's what helped him acquire all of these young players that he picked up in the tight end, the wide receiver, and running back room.
That's why I'm rooting for you to fail, JMC. No, I'm not. I wasn't expecting a high pick when I got it. So, yeah, the thing with JMC is he is one of our active traders. His team is basically never complete is not the right word, but it's never done being built. He'll continue to make moves in season. He'll find trades. He'll find deals. All right. Any final thoughts before we move on?
No, this team firmly belongs in this frisky tier. I mean, there's a lot of ways that this team could go based on a handful of kind of pivot points, pivot players.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Time will tell.
We are going to move on to our next team. Our next team is Benign Rug. Rug has an actual pretty high overall rank, though, of number 4, which hints that he has some draft capital that we'll get to at the end. But we're going to start with this quarterback room, which is rank of 3. this is a very young quarterback room. Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Bryce Young, and then Hendon Hooker and Mitchell Trubisky. But those are 3 second and third year starting quarterbacks, 2 of whom are pretty high in the rankings.
Yeah, this is the first team that we've seen that has 3 legitimate starters in the room.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd call Hendon Hooker. Oh, you meant Bryce Young. Yeah. Yeah. And not only 3 legit starters, but maybe, a guy who could legitimately be the QB1 at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, right now he is Dynasty QB1 in value, isn't he?
He's 9946 on the trade value listing here. So if he's not 1, he's 2.
Right, he's got to be up there.
Nope, he's behind Josh Allen.
We talked about this earlier when we talked about Criddle's roster and CJ Stroud.
He's 2.
The only difference here is that Jaden Daniels has that floor of rushing production that CJ Stroud didn't have.
Yep. Yeah, so this is a very impressive quarterback room, and Daniels is absolutely capable of a big boom week that could, he could drop 50 in a week like we saw with Allen last year. Get lucky on a rushing touchdown, or he hits a 90-yard scramble or something crazy like that, and he's got the breakaway speed to do it. So having those big boom options as, or big boom weeks as an option on your quarterback room is very helpful.
Yeah, for me, it's really just kind of exciting to see how this team has come together. He's been building for the last several years, and he's really nailed a lot of draft picks, including Jaden Daniels and Drake May, who were not the hyped top of that class. That he did well to add these guys to his team.
Yeah, smart drafting is what has gotten him to this position.
Yeah, on the edge of the playoff picture right now.
The big question for this quarterback room is Bryce Young legit? Because we know Drake May's getting the full year as long as he's healthy. We know Jaden Daniels is locked in. Bryce Young has looked good and bad at various points thus far. And he finished the year looking pretty good, but it was a fairly small sample size of it. So if Bryce Young is legit and is even just a, middling NFL starter, that's great. That's what Rugg needs.
Yeah, at this point, he just needs somebody to provide a floor as his quarterback 3. He doesn't need the huge ceiling from Bryce Young. If he can just be a useful, steady fantasy quarterback 3, then he's good. This is a very good room with potential to be one of the best quarterback rooms in the league if these guys can progress.
Yeah, well said. Let's go over to his running back room. Running back room is a rank of 9, and I kind of disagree with it. I'll give you the names. Omarion Hampton, Josh Jacobs, Caleb Johnson, Dylan Sampson, Braylon Allen. I don't know how that gets a rank of 9 because I like pretty much all those guys.
Nobody did more work this offseason on any individual position group than Rugg did in the running back room. All of those players you just named were essentially all acquired on draft day, either by draft or by trade. His room before this was the other 3 guys that you didn't name: Khalil Herbert, Chris Rodriguez. I think he just picked up Samaje Perine not long ago, but he had nothing in the running back room, less than nothing. When we were reviewing his roster week to week, it was like, is he going to get double zeros or is he going to get any points this week? And now he has a legitimate, competitive, playoff worthy running back room right now.
Yeah, and things have broken well for him after the draft as well, because Hampton looked like he was going to be in the second part of a timeshare with Najee Harris. Then Najee had the incident on the 4th of July, and now it looks like Hampton's going to be the guy. Dylan Sampson looked like he was going to be the backup or even the third man in Cleveland, and then Judkins had his domestic, and now it's possible that Sampson is the number 2 or even the number 1 if he can beat out Ford. So both these guys, arrows pointing up on them.
Yeah, again, smart drafting.
Yeah.
Smart or lucky, either way, it's worked out.
Hampton obviously wasn't, Hampton is less luck. We all expected Hampton would eventually take over from Najee at some point anyways. But, Samson, we can chalk up a little bit to luck, even though, he may have really liked the player, but the situation improving is luck, or
Yep.
bad luck for Judkins, or who knows. I really like this room. I think that even Braylon Allen, I've heard some talk of a potential timeshare there. I don't buy it, but that could mean that he gets, 35% of the work instead of 25% of the work.
Yeah, I think it's a very competitive room. I like this room a lot as well. I think it probably deserves to be a little higher than 9, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
The 9 also has to do with the fact that
There's not a lot
you
of
read off the
players.
names on the bench. There was only 3 other guys. So some of these running back rooms have 12 guys in them. And even if they're not 5 guys that are better than, anything here, they have just that extra value by, virtue of being there.
Yeah, you can juice your numbers a little bit if you have a lot of extra depth. May not be players that are getting in your lineup every week. But
Well, that's a great transition into this wide receiver room, which is ranked number 4. This is a top heavy room. He's got some big names at the top: Brian Thomas, Marvin Harrison, Jordan Addison. I'm going to stop right there because those are the big names. Let's talk about those two. Harrison and Thomas both drafted last year. Thomas, obviously the huge breakout season. Harrison, a very good rookie year, but I think a lot of people were disappointed.
Yeah, and we know Addison's going to be suspended for the first couple of weeks this year, but these 3 guys, this is where most of his wide receiver production is going to come from. This is kind of a fake wide receiver rank of 4.
So, there's a lot of bodies at the bottom of this list that are bringing up that value.
27 receivers listed, although it is a best ball. And if you're going to lack quality, then you can make up for it in quantity, especially a wide receiver. It's one of the easiest spots to do it.
Yes. Despite the fact that this wide receiver room is ranked 4 and this running back room is ranked 9, I think the running back room is actually probably better than the receiver room, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think you'll get more points out of the running back room than the wide receiver room overall.
Yeah, so after Thomas, Harrison, and Addison, we have Wan'Dale Robinson, Christian Watson, who is hurt. Do we know if he's even going to be – he's not going to be back for the beginning of the season, but do we know if he's going to be back at all?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly when it was, but I know it was pretty late in the season. It had to be around December. So anything you get from him this year is going to be a bonus.
Exactly. Regardless of when it was, you're not counting on anything. All right. After Watson, we have this list of guys here, almost all second-year players, first-year players. Alec Manor is the way I heard it pronounced when I was listening to the highlights. I don't know if it's correct. Dontavian Wicks, Torrey Horton, Jordan Whittington, Trey Tucker. I'm going to pause there for a minute. We'll hit the last of the list in a minute. But those guys are all kind of on the fringe of maybe they'll get you a few weeks here and there. Maybe they'll luck their way into a bigger role. I like Wicks a lot. I think he's pretty talented. I really wish he was better at catching the ball.
Unfortunately, a prerequisite to the wide receiver position.
So, these guys all have opportunity. Who knows what they'll make of it? None of them are guys that you can count on.
Yeah, right now we're not projecting roles for them, any kind of big roles for fantasy. It'll take some injuries and depth chart maneuvering for them to get into any kind of helpful role. But again, these are guys that are probably sitting in the wide receiver 4 or 5 range, so you never know when one of them can pop off. And it's best balls. It's not like you have to guess when to start them. Just load up your bench and hope you get some performances every week from one of them.
Yep.
At least he does have Jalen Naylor, who can cover for Jordan Addison the first couple of weeks. He's pretty far down the depth chart, but he's probably going to get a lot of snaps early in the season.
I would say he was the wide receiver 3 most of last year, and he caught a bunch of touchdowns too. He had a good year, as far as wide receiver 3s go.
Yeah, it helps soften the blow a little bit to losing Addison for the first 3 weeks. But again, it's got a lot of bodies, but it's a very thin receiving room outside the top guys.
Have we seen any reports? Is Addison going to appeal that suspension at all? Because if he appeals, he might end up at 2 instead of 3. But I don't know if that matters.
Yeah, probably not. Not a big deal for fantasy.
No. All right. Few other guys at the bottom of this list: Tez Johnson, Jordan Watkins, Jonathan Mingo, Bub Means, Zay Jones. nothing. I don't have any opinions on any of these guys.
I mean, he's got a bunch of young guys.
Yeah.
That's why they have some dynasty value. But production wise, yeah, there's not much to project here and be excited for. But it's possible that these guys could take a leap. I mean, a lot of guys that we see that jump into conversations in the wide receiver spot, they're usually young guys. It's not 6, 7, 8 year veterans that suddenly have a big breakout season. So if you're projecting somebody to be surprising, it's probably a rookie or second-year player.
Torrey Horton's getting a bunch of buzz in Seattle, so could be him.
It's because he's the only guy on the roster that's not a slot receiver. Somebody's got to play on the outside. I mean, it's him or MVS.
And that's MVS has his weeks and everything, but that's not exactly the deepest room right there, the hardest mountain to climb to get to the top of that.
Right. Not a lot of targets to go around, but there will be snaps.
All right, let's move over to that running back room. Or not running back, excuse me, that tight end room. We got a tight end room rank of 6, so we're right in the middle here. At the top, we have Jatavian Sanders, Theo Johnson, Hunter Henry, Gunnar Helm, Eric All, and Jeremy Ruckert.
It's another very young room besides Hunter Henry, who is probably he's the only guy that we're locked into weekly production. The rest of these guys, maybe, like Sanders and Johnson had moments last year as rookies.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of competition there for them. They could walk into big roles again. Wasn't huge fantasy production, but in our league, any production is useful from the tight end spot.
Yeah, and you don't need huge production to, make that lineup and be useful in it. You need moderate production, and then you get a bunch of bonuses for being a tight end and for getting a first down and all those other things. And all of a sudden you're at 10 points on 3 catches.
Right. It's a low bar.
So it's a functional tight end room here. And like you said, it's very young, basically outside of Hunter Henry. And Henry gives you that baseline of production. He's likely to be the highest scoring of these guys. Ruckert has a chance here because apparently
we just said nice things about Mason Taylor walking into an empty room, and then he goes and gets a high ankle sprain.
Yeah, high ankle sprain. So I'm pretty sure Ruckert's the longest tenured tight end in that room. You should be able to at least step in and see some playing time.
Yeah, it just means probably Taylor's not going to be handed the starting job week 1 if he's not able to play at all in the preseason and maybe limited early on. We've seen high ankle sprains last for upwards of a month, so we'll see how that goes. But it definitely puts him behind the 8 ball as far as walking into a 80+% snap share. We're probably going to see Ruckert and Stone Cold Smart on some passing downs. That would be my guess early in the season, at least.
For Rugg, the real story is, do Sanders and Johnson build on what they did last year? And if they do, and if they take a step forward, he's got a very good room. And if they don't, well, he's got an okay room.
Yep. Yeah, those are the big pivot players for him. If one or both of them can walk into a decent opportunity and a decent target share in the passing games, then there's definitely opportunity there, especially on the Giants. I mean, outside of Neighbors, there's not really anyone there that commands a ton of targets. You got guys like Wandell and Slayton that are solid players, but there's definitely targets to be had.
Yeah, Wandale had a ton of targets last year.
Yeah, I think that was more out of necessity.
I want to look up the exact number because
all his targets are within 4 yards of the line of scrimmage.
How many targets do you think Wandale Robinson had last year?
He must have been over 100.
He had 140 targets last year.
That's too many. Why? You do not. But he had 140 targets and like 600 yards. That's terrible.
93 catches for 699 yards.
600 yards on 140 targets. That's not how you run an effective offense.
Don't fact check me on this, but he had 1 broken tackle last year. He went down on first contact like every time. I watched almost every Giants game. I don't think I saw him break a single tackle.
To catch 90 passes and not break 700 yards, you have to catch everything at the line of scrimmage and never break any tackles.
So I don't know how much of this is on him and how much of this is on he's doing what he's told to by the coaching staff and they're telling him to do, he'd like to see a little bit more with the ball in his hands, obviously, but
Do you? Because he had the ball in his hands 90 times and did 600 yards.
I'm not saying you want to see the ball in his hands more. I'm saying you want to see him do more with the ball.
Right. We need less targets for Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yards per target of 4.99.
Yeah, that's not great. It's not great.
3 touchdowns on the year. He had 3 carries for 18 yards. He averaged more yards per catch than he did yards per target, or yards per carry, than he did yards per target.
That's not good.
No, it's not.
No.
Hopefully they can find a way to get him a little bit further downfield and stay at a decent volume.
That's what we call a PPR scam.
Yeah. All right, let's go over to the draft capital room here. You got a draft rank of 6. Looking at the draft rank, he's got his own picks, rounds 1 through 3, and he's got Flinch's 3rd round pick instead of his own 4th round pick. So basically this room, he's not missing anything. He just upgraded the 4th round pick to a 3rd round pick. He's got all his own capital in 27.
Yeah, he's done a good job of drafting, and he's held on to his pick smartly because he's done a good job of drafting. But he's also put himself in a position where if he does make a playoff push, he has essentially all of his capital to add pieces in the season if he needs to.
Yeah, if we get to the point where teams are selling and Rugg is in a position that he doesn't need to sell or doesn't want to sell and he's, still competitive, he can definitely, we've seen him use his capital in the past. He has not been shy about it. He makes trades, he does things, but he also is, like you said, in a smart position where he has that choice.
Yeah, he's got a very flexible roster right now. A lot of young talent, all of his draft picks. He's in a very, what I like to call, liquid position. So depending on how the season goes, he can react appropriately and take it pretty much any direction he needs to, which is a nice spot to be in because a lot of these teams have almost no draft capital and then you're really stuck with what you have.
Of all the teams, Rugg has the youngest roster by average age.
Not surprising. Pretty much everyone we've gone through is either first or second year player.
So he's tied with JMC. They both have an average age of 24.2. But what I found most interesting here was that Mr. Good News is 25.4 because his roster could have gone anyway because he's not fielding a competitive team right there. He could have easily been like 22 years old on his average age and no one would be shocked.
The players that actually matter on his roster are definitely the youngest roster.
Yes, absolutely.
It's because most of his roster is trash.
Yeah, so like you said, it's a flexible team, a young team. He's built through the draft. It'll be very interesting to see how this year plays out for Rugg's team. We'll all be watching this one closely, I think.
Yeah, it's nice to finally see his team kind of in the mix for contending. It's been a long rebuild for him, but it's seems to be heading the right direction, kind of where we were at last year with GeorgiaMike's team. We thought maybe it was going to be another year, and then he flipped on the switch a little early and made his team more competitive when his young guys started producing. So Rugg's in a very similar spot to what we saw last year.
Good comparison. All right, we're going to move to Flinch's team. Flinch is next on the list with a 45% chance to make the playoffs, or 46 if you want to go by the updated rankings. But we're still in that frisky tier. Flinch is listed at an overall rank of 9. Before we get to that, Flinch, still open invitation anytime you want to come on. We'll be happy to have you.
Yeah, we have 2 managers left that we have yet to interview on this podcast.
Yeah, same thing goes for you, Judd. If you want to join us, we'd be happy to have you anytime. We'll work with your schedule, guys.
Peer pressure.
We don't want to pressure anybody.
Peer pressure in the comments.
Peer pressure. Has anyone ever left a comment on any of our videos?
I have.
You have. Okay. Has anyone else ever left a comment?
No.
All right. So Flinch's team, overall rank of 9. We're going to start like we normally do at that quarterback room. And here it is, quarterback rank of 1. This is the top quarterback room in the league, according to Dynasty Daddy. There's a reason for that. He has Lamar Jackson.
Yes. Lamar Jackson. Perennial
so
MVP.
yes.
Lamar Jackson.
So we have Lamar Jackson, Bo Nix, Aaron Rodgers, and then we have some backups. We got Joe Milton, Will Howard, Zach Wilson, Jimmy Garoppolo. He's got Deshaun Watson. Who the heck knows if Deshaun Watson ever plays another down of football?
Hopefully
Let's all
not.
hope not.
Hopefully not. He has three legitimate quarterbacks.
Yep.
One elite option, a second who played most of last season like an elite option, and then he's got Aaron Rodgers to kind of help his floor. He's ranked number one because he's got those guys, and then he's got just a lot of other bodies here.
Yeah. The other bodies, Howard, Wilson, Milton, they add up in value to basically having another starter according to the way that everything's calculated. So it looks like he's got 4 starters by value, but he's got the 3. And who knows? Right now, he has Jimmy Garoppolo. We still haven't seen Stafford practice a single day. If Stafford's back doesn't cooperate and he ends up missing some time, Garoppolo helps that floor. He'll be in there with Rodgers to, provide stability.
Yep, and he's got Wilson, who's behind Tua in Miami, who's been perennial banged up. He's got Joe Milton behind Dak, who's been banged up. So, I mean, he's got a few high-end handcuff quarterbacks as well.
It's really, though, we expect to see Lamar and Bo Nix in there pretty much every week. I don't see a lot of weeks where even Rodgers breaks into the lineup here.
No, if everything goes right the way it's supposed to, then, yeah, it's going to be Lamar and Bo.
Yeah, we saw Lamar last year put up 40-point week after 40-point week. He was just a monster. And we've seen him do that a bunch of times now. It's not just last year that he did that. That's what we expect from Lamar, basically.
Yeah, there's a reason that he's a perennial MVP candidate in the NFL, and he's even more valuable in fantasy.
Exactly. And like I mentioned before, it's nice to see guys be able to root for their real-life teams. Bo Nix, Flinch is a Broncos fan. Bo Nix, Broncos starter. Let's go to the running back room. We've got a running back rank of 10. But again, this is a functional running back room, even with a low rank. We've got Kyron Williams, who I'm pretty sure that news came out today that he got his contract.
Yep.
Or yesterday. Very recently. So Kyron with a new contract, entrenched starter there. Derrick Henry, RJ Harvey, and Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah, he's got 2 really elite options for fantasy in Kyron and Derrick Henry. They're not ranked like that in dynasty value, but production-wise, it's hard to beat that duo if you're trying to actually score the most points you can every week. I know Henry's on the older side, but he's pretty much bionic, so no, he hasn't slowed down at all. If anything, last year was his most efficient season of his career in his 30s, which is just impossible. But Derrick Henry is impossible.
Playing behind that really good offensive line and next to Lamar Jackson, I can see how that would help his running.
Right. And Kyron Williams, I mean, everybody likes to slam him because he's not the most explosive or efficient back, but he gets the touches. He gets the touches that matter. He plays 85% of the snaps.
Forget the touches. He gets in the end zone.
Those are the ones that matter. He plays on third downs. He plays on goal line. He plays every snap at running back for them. So as long as he's out there, he's going to be productive.
Yep.
He's getting 20, 25 touches a game. It doesn't matter how explosive he is.
Yeah. That offense has produced for the running back since McVay got there. And if Kyron's going to be the guy getting the carries, getting the work, he's going to produce numbers.
Yep. And they just paid him to be the guy. So
it's basically, it looks like a 2-year deal disguised as a 3-year deal. So he's good for this year. He's good for next year. We'll see what happens after that.
That's every NFL contract.
Yeah, right.
But guys that are explosive, he added RJ Harvey in the first round of our rookie draft. This is a guy that can produce some splash plays.
It's interesting to me that 2 of his top 3 running backs are paired with his quarterbacks. We talked about it a bit last year where I think I made the speculation of how often are you going to see Henry and Lamar both go off. And boy, was that dumb because they both went off like every week.
Historically,
Man,
it's,
was I wrong. Let's get that out of the way.
historically,
What?
it's difficult for both the quarterback and the running back to be productive together.
Especially when the
Generally,
running back is known for not catching passes.
right, because generally there's only one rushing touchdown on a drive, unless you have a crazy historic productive offense. Unless the, quarterback receiver makes sense. You can get touchdowns from both guys on one play. Quarterback running back, not so much. It worked out last
Well,
year.
you know, watch me do it again because I have to ask, like, is this a viable strategy? Because, like you said, there's only so many touchdowns to go around on every drive. And let's say either Henry or Lamar is a little bit less efficient this year, or Harvey isn't the goal line back, or, there's a bunch of different ways this could go. Is this something that could cause a problem for Flinch at any point?
It should limit your ceiling theoretically because you can only score one touchdown a drive, right? But it didn't really work out that way in actuality last year. They somehow scored many, many touchdowns between the two of them. It was not a problem.
So the difference for Harvey, at least, is I guess he profiles as a much better pass catcher than Derrick Henry. So that could mean double points for Nix and Harvey on those hookups. And if that does, play out that way, it could be a boon instead of a hindrance.
Yeah, we'll see what the split looks like between him and Dobbins for however long Dobbins can stay on the field. That's been a career-long issue for him. But Harvey's a guy that, based on what we saw in college, he doesn't need a ton of touches to to score. And we know the Broncos offense is very productive for running backs.
Yeah. Sean Payton likes his running backs. There's always productive guys there. All right. So Isaiah Pacheco is the next guy on this list. And it looks like he's going to retain that starting job that he had, before getting injured last year. They didn't bring in a ton of competition.
They didn't bring in any competition.
Yeah,
they brought back Kareem
round
Hunt and they picked up Brashad Smith. They lost P. Ryan. So
he wasn't really playing much anyways.
If you're thinking that Smith is going to play in those exclusively kind of third and long passing down situations, fine. This is Pacheco's job, I would assume. If he can get back to how he was before he broke his leg, then this is going to be a very productive player who's heavily discounted right now.
Yeah, again,
based on the way he finished the season.
Doesn't hold the point value for, keep trade cup purposes or whatever, but he's still, he's still in line for a very productive role.
Yeah.
All right. The rest of these guys, Audric Estime, Jaleel McLaughlin, Justice Hill, Israel Abanikanda, not sure, Tyler Beatty, Blake Watson. This is basically the entire backup room in Denver.
And all
Hill.
of the Broncos backups and also Derrick Henry's backup.
Yeah. So, Hill is the, third down back for the Ravens. He'll have a few weeks where he gets in the end zone or catches a bunch of passes in the 2-minute drill. He'll make his appearances here and there, but he's not going to do anything more than that. The rest of these guys are pretty much pure backups at this point.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect a ton outside of Hill. You're probably not going to get a ton of production from the rest of these guys. But he does have some very good guys at the top, at least.
All right, let's move over to the wide receiver room. This wide receiver room is also ranked 10th. We have at the top, George Pickens, Terry McLaurin, Juwan Jennings, Marvin Mims, Darnell Mooney. I'm gonna pause there. We'll include Xavier Legette in that group. McLaurin, obviously the highlight of this room, but waiting on the new contract. He requested a trade. We'll see. We'll see if that happens. I'm gonna come out now and say he will not be traded.
Well, according to Jerry Jones, that's just standard negotiating tactics. Nothing to worry about.
We should get all our news about the Commanders from Jerry Jones. I know he was talking about Parsons when he said it, but still. Yeah. Speaking of Jerry Jones and his team, George Pickens in Dallas now.
Speaking of trades,
True. Uh, Pickens and Dak should work well together. That's a combo that I like.
Yeah,
I'm
there's
not as a
definitely
Giants fan, but as a fantasy fan.
there was definitely room there for a second receiver to step up anytime in the last several years. Dallas has cycled through several players next to CeeDee Lamb, and none of them have really worked out. Pickens is by far the best that they've had there, so a lot of opportunity for production, probably more than what he would have had in Pittsburgh playing next to TK. I think the Cowboys will probably lean a little bit more pass heavy than the Arthur Smith Pittsburgh Steelers offense this year.
You have a talent for understatement, my friend. Yeah, so Pickens the number 2, but should have a lot of opportunity working with a quarterback who fits his skill set well. And McLaurin, obviously, there will be a deal at some point. Who knows how much, how long, etc. But he'll get it in there. He'll get one done. After that, Juwan Jennings and Mooney are both injured right now.
Well,
Basically,
Mooney is legitimately injured. He's going to be out probably until early in the season. Jennings more hurt feelings because he wants more money.
he should get more money. I'm not saying they should give him a massive contract, but just give the man a raise.
He definitely earned it last year. He was
That's what I mean.
the wide receiver 1 for them for most of the season.
Yeah. Well, he he had some games where, like, if he didn't do that, they didn't even stand a chance in the game.
Oh, he was legitimately good last year. It wasn't just, well, he was the last guy standing. I mean, he was legitimately productive last year.
I'm not saying go out and, give him $30 million a year, but I'll bet you if you went out and gave him like a $3-4 million raise this year, which I'm sure they could manage, I'll bet you he'd be happy with that.
Yeah, I remember when he signed the contract a couple of years ago, and we said, "Well, that feels like an overpay." He's like the wide receiver 4. He's mostly just a blocker. I can't believe they gave him that much money, and now it looks like a severe underpay based on how he played last year.
Right.
He feels the same way.
And for all the fact that last year was his basically breakout year, he's not that young. I think he's like 28 right now.
Yeah, he came into the league pretty old.
All right. So Mooney, obviously, it's a bit of a new offense there with Penix instead of Cousins, but he was one of Cousins' favorite targets last year. It'd be interesting to see when he does come back if he has that same kind of connection with Penix.
Yeah, I mean, we're expecting him right now. We're not expecting him to miss a ton of time. So
No. All right. What are your thoughts on
the offense needs him because Atlanta doesn't really have anything behind London. It's like
Sure.
you got Ray McLeod and Cordero Hodge, special teams guys. The next receiver's up.
Kyle Pitts?
Yeah. Yep. Gets shallow really quick.
So I almost hesitate to ask this because of the last name, but what are your thoughts on Marvin Mims?
Oh, he's amazing.
I said Marvin, not Denzel.
Oh, okay. He's also amazing.
Okay.
I mean, the last half of the season he was last year. He was basically scoring a long touchdown every single week. He still wasn't
only
getting the
playing
volume.
like 6 snaps a game somehow.
He still hasn't gotten the volume, but he is productive when he's out there. I don't understand.
No one does.
I don't understand.
Maybe he'll step up this year and get more, a higher snap count. Maybe he won't. Who knows? Time will tell. Xavier Legette going into year 2 now. Well, he was okay last year. It wasn't great, but he wasn't awful. I don't really know what to do with Legette.
Well, last year was his big opportunity as a rookie. This year is going to be a little more crowded. Thielen's healthy right now. They drafted Tet early in the draft to kind of be the guy. So Legette's going to have to earn the targets this year. He's competing with the next guy on this roster, Jalen Coker.
Yeah, so a little bit of redundancy there. You wouldn't expect more than one of those guys to be on the field at the same time. Oh, hey, look, Jimmy Horn's here too.
Right. Another Carolina depth receiver.
Is Flinch's second favorite team Carolina? Is there something we should know about here? Have the depth chart.
We'll have to ask him.
The wrong half at that.
When we interview him.
Yeah. Jalen Lane, Devon, is it Vale or Vele? Do we know? I mean, I got to do more work on these names. I'm asking that way too often these days.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. None of
Nick
these guys
Westbrook
matter.
Akine, and for some reason Chase Claypool is still here.
I love to see Chase Claypool still kicking around on the roster.
Flinch, it's time to go. It's time to let him go.
It's been
I was a believer too, brother. I was.
how many years
It's time to move on.
since he's mattered in fantasy?
Yeah. I don't know. When was his rookie year?
Oh man.
Yeah, so there's some depth here. We'll see if any of it plays out. If Westbrook Akine manages to get that third job in Miami, maybe they start using him. I don't know.
Yeah, they don't use 3 wide receivers, but the
They
two
really
guys
don't.
in front of him have been pretty banged up the last couple of years, so
It's true.
could be snaps there.
All right. We're going to go over to the tight end room. This is the tight end room with a rank of 5, so we're a little above the median here. We have Dalton Kincaid, Brenton Strange, Cole Kmet, Luke Schoonmaker, Greg Dulcich, and Lucas Krull. So really it's Kincaid, Strange, and then we'll see what the split is in Chicago, but Kmet might still have some value.
Yeah, this is easily the best tight end room that we've seen so far of all the teams that we've reviewed. He has several locked-in starters, which is more than we could say for a bunch of teams. And he's got a guy that, I mean, theoretically still has a ceiling, in Kincaid, a guy that they took in the first round.
Yep.
And they have a pretty wide open room there without a ton of target commanding receivers.
Yeah,
Still,
I think
still opportunity for him.
I think they wanted to lean more on Kincaid than they did last year. He was banged up for a large part of the year. He was still playing, but he was injured, and I think it was, what was it, his ankle?
Yeah, he battled through a bunch of injuries, knee, ankle,
Yes.
back.
So if he's healthy this year, going into year 3, which is for a lot of tight ends the year that things finally kind of shift and click, well, maybe he does take that leap into what I think a lot of people hoped he would be when he was drafted.
Yeah, there's not a lot of tight ends in the league that even have a chance of being a focal point of a passing offense. So
Strange could easily end up being the third target there. It's even possible that he could be the second target in that offense. I don't think it's likely. You're going to have Thomas at the top commanding the majority of not the majority, but the Lions' share of the work. Who knows what we get from Hunter? If he ends up playing more on defense than we expect, Strange could have a pretty big role.
yeah, his opportunity. I mean, he's going to be out there for the majority of snaps, and it could be a good passing offense if it's anything like Cohen ran in Tampa Bay last year. There's definitely room for production from the tight end. We saw Otten put up pretty good production playing with very good receivers.
It's true. Well, he put up his best numbers when one of those receivers or even both of them were out injured, but he was still productive for the entire year. Strange doesn't have much competition in the room either. He's pretty much locked in as the guy.
Yeah, everyone else they signed is strictly blockers.
I don't think the rest of these guys are really worth talking about. Kmet could still see a good snap share this year because you have to expect that even as good as Loveland should be, he might not be fully integrated into the offense right away. Tight end is, the most difficult role to transition from, the college game to the pro game for skill position guys.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a transition year. I mean, Kmet is not a bad player.
No, he's a good player. He's solid.
He's been productive the last several years. He's on the last year of his contract, so we can assume that it's going to kind of slowly transition between the two.
These other guys, backups, we'll see if any of them fall into relevance because of injuries ahead of them. But if that doesn't happen, maybe you'll get a lucky touchdown here and there.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect a ton of production from the rest of this room without multiple injuries.
Let's go over to the draft capital. We have a draft rank of 8. Flinch kept his own first-round pick next year into the 2026 draft, but he has already spent all the rest of them. And in the 2027 draft, he has all his own capital plus an extra third-round pick from Mel's roster.
Yeah, so he's got a little bit of flexibility. He's at least in control of his own first in case the season goes sideways.
Exactly.
He controls his own destiny a little bit here, but not a ton of extra picks to throw around if he needs to improve the roster.
Right. He's got the big one at the top, but outside of that, it's tough to add around the margins a lot of time without those later picks. So if he wants to do that, he might have to go forward into that 27 capital.
Yep.
All right. Any final thoughts on this roster before we move on?
No, it's pretty much in the same spot that we were at last year, where he was kind of projected around the fridges, maybe one of the final playoff teams in or one of the final playoff teams out. And he seems to be kind of in that same tier this year.
Yeah, that sounds right. All right, we're going to move on to our next team. The last one we're going to cover today. We have GeorgiaMike. GeorgiaMike is listed at a 66% chance to make the playoffs, or if you want to go by the updated one, still exactly 66%. So we are still, this is the last team in the frisky tier. So we're in the same tier as Flinch, Rug, JMC, Flea, and Criddle. But we started this tier at Criddle with a 6% chance and are ending with GeorgiaMike at a 66% chance, which is a very wide range to be in the same tier.
Yeah, I think it's deserved though. This is I think the top of the frisky tier. This is a lot deeper, more balanced team than any of the other ones that we've seen so far. And he probably deserves to be up a little bit into the contender tier.
I was going to say, even just from the last, like from Flinch to GeorgiaMike, according to Dynasty Daddy, is a 21% chance difference. So that's 1 in 5. That's a good chunk of change. It's almost like GeorgiaMike is at his own tier in between, because the next lowest that we have, I think, is in the like 80 to 90% range. So GeorgiaMike's kind of in between that frisky and contender for percentage wise.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
All right, let's get into the roster here. So we're going to start with the quarterback room, same as always. Quarterback rank of 8. We have Caleb Williams, Trevor Lawrence, and then we have Daniel Jones, Malik Willis, and Mac Jones. Caleb and Trevor at the top.
Yeah, a lot of this room hinges on Caleb Williams' development. He flashed last year, but overall it was not a great year. He's got a new head coach, new offensive scheme, his third head coach already in his brief career. So we'll see how the development goes. But yeah, a lot of the season is going to hinge on Caleb reaching some of his promise.
It's not partially that. It's pretty much exclusively that is how this room will go. Because
we know
at this
what we're
point,
gonna
I think Trevor Lawrence kind of is what he is, which is solid, but not anything special.
Yeah. And the
For
same
fantasy purposes, anyways.
Same for Daniel Jones. I mean, we know what he is at this point. He's kind of a bridge starter. He's not going to produce hugely for fantasy. He's probably going to end up starting games at some point. But yeah, we're not expecting a huge ceiling from Daniel Jones. And the other guys in this room are backups.
Exactly. Daniel Jones might be the backup. We don't know how that's going to shake out.
Right.
I'm surprised you even said it as though there was a chance he wouldn't be, because I think they want to make Richardson the starter.
They do. I mean, that's the plan. It's basically Richardson competing against Richardson for this job.
Yeah.
Because Daniel Jones is, I mean, we saw how many starts in New York. We know what he is at this point. It's not a franchise-saving quarterback. It's not a franchise-saving quarterback at this point. You know, he's a bridge guy that can get you to the next guy that you actually want to lead your franchise. That's what he is at this point. So
we'll always have that run against the Eagles.
The one that he didn't even score on.
Yeah, I think that's I don't remember if this is actually true or not, but I'm pretty sure that's the longest quarterback run that wasn't a touchdown.
I believe it. No need to fact check.
No need to fact. I don't even know how you would fact check that. You probably could. All right.
I'm glad that his career highlight is a run that didn't even score a touchdown.
Down without anyone within 20 yards of him. Yeah.
That's pretty much sums up his career.
Oh God. Well, we'll see. Jones, the thing with Jones is he, hurt his neck, and I don't know if he's ever physically recovered from that. So if he ever actually gets all the way back, who knows, maybe he'll actually be able to flash when he gets the chance as a backup, but he's going to be a backup for pretty much the rest of his career now. And it's just a matter of how long does he stick around.
Yeah, I'm not sure what all the way back even means because I don't remember him ever being super productive.
No, there's a difference though between playing at 100% health and not playing at 100% health. And you could tell last year that he was definitely not the same
All right.
physically.
But
And that-
100% health for him was like
I'm not
18
trying to
touchdowns,
defend
16
I'm not
games.
trying to defend Daniel Jones here. I can't believe we're spending this much time on Daniel Jones. I'm not trying to defend him. I'm just saying, like, when a guy's healthy, it helps. It matters.
Right.
And I would take a healthy Daniel Jones as the backup quarterback on my team any day of the week. As the starter, no thank you. But
Well,
if,
that's currently GeorgiaMike's quarterback 3. So again, we're looking at a team where it's 2 locked-in starters and maybe a third.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
something from these other guys, but yeah.
Well, we expect that Caleb will have the full year with Johnson there as the new coach, and as long as Trevor Lawrence is healthy, he's certainly not going anywhere.
Right. These 2 guys are locked in, barring health. They're not getting benched.
Yeah, and they're both guys that are capable of scrambling a little bit and adding some with their legs, so they'll have a decent floor. This is a functional quarterback room, not a great one.
Yep.
The rank of 8 is probably about right.
Yep.
All right, let's go over to the running back room. We have a running back rank of 5. We have Bucky Irving, Chase Brown, Zach Charbonnet. I'm going to pause there. I think Irving and Brown are a pretty good 1-2 punch.
Yeah, very good. Those are 2 good anchors. Those guys are going to get a lot of touches every week. They're going to be very productive as long as, again, all of these are barring health.
Yeah.
But these are 2 guys that are expected to step into huge running back 1 roles for their teams and probably running back 1 fantasy production. They certainly had it last year in spurts.
It kind of surprises me how quickly Irving and Brown went from being not that highly thought of to all of a sudden these guys are both viewed as, top 10 backs.
Welcome to NFL running back life.
All right. So outside of those 2, it's a little bit thinner. We've got Charbonnet, and I'm gonna mention Austin Eckler here, even though he's much further down this list in terms of value, as guys that are the number 2 on their team, but will still get work and should put up at least a little bit of, week to week production.
Yeah, there's a handful of guys here that are depth players, but with potential for weekly roles.
Yep.
We don't know how the backup situation is going to shake out in Green Bay. Marshawn Lloyd could definitely be in there if he can ever stay on the field, but again, he's injured.
He's
right
already
now.
injured again. Yeah.
We've seen some camp hype for some of these rookies that he picked up either late in the rookie draft or after the rookie draft.
There's a lot of rookies in the next few names here. He's got Trevor Etienne, Kyle Monangai, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, and Phil Maffa. All of these guys at one point or another have been, there's been a hype train going for him at some point.
Krosky Merritt goes by Bill, FYI.
What?
Don't ask me why, but that's what he prefers. That's what he prefers to be called, not Ja'Cory, Bill.
Okay.
So
you know what? I'm happy to do it, but I'm gonna be confused about it.
Yep. So Bill's been getting some hype.
All right.
In camp, behind Eckler, and he's really behind Robinson. The Commanders running back coach, Anthony Lynn, puts his running backs into buckets. You got the early down kind of thumper guy, and that's where he's put Robinson and Bill Krosky Merritt. And then you've got the kind of satellite backs where they have Eckler in that role. So really his competition for touches is Robinson at this point. Pretty good spot to be in.
Having 2 of the running backs in that room is a good position to be in. You know that it's a team that can run the ball, that has a running quarterback who will help the running back position. And they perform. The 2 guys are, like you said, in different buckets. So you could have both bites at the apple.
And even the vets he has here, I mean, these are guys that are potential handcuffs. Singletary in New York and Edwards-Helaire in New Orleans. We don't know how the depth chart's going to shake out above them. We know Scadaboo is injured right now, so Singletary's kind of locked in as the number 2. And Devin Neal is injured in New Orleans. He's going to miss at least a few weeks. So he's probably going to miss the entire preseason. That really puts him behind Kendre Miller and Edwards-Helaire for that backup role to Kamara.
Yeah, so a couple really good options at the top, a couple of mid-tier options, and then some rookie shots. This is what a good running back room looks like a lot of the time.
Yep, and that's why he's got the running back rank of 5.
All right, over to the wide receiver room. Here's the special one. We got a wide receiver rank of 2. I think that's the highest outside of the quarterback room that we just reviewed with Flinch. I'm pretty sure that's the highest rank we've seen of anything.
We had
I lied. Flea's running back room.
Yeah.
So we're starting to see some pretty high numbers here. But anyway, this wide receiver room is talented and deep as well. He's got Drake,
and young.
And young, yes. Drake London, Ladd McConkey, Rome Odunze, Jamison Williams, Xavier Worthy, Jaden Reed. I'm going to pause there because that's my opinion where the tier break is. But Michael Pittman's there too.
The disrespect for Michael Pittman.
I've never been a Michael Pittman fan. I don't know why. Anyway, that's
I definitely put him closer to Jaden Reed than I do Quentin Johnston, the next guy below him. So
I would too, but I'm not sure that's the case with the way that offense will run. All right. We have London and McConkey, who were both wide receiver 1s last year. We've got Williams and Worthy, who are both capable of taking basically any ball to the house. We've got Rome Odunze, who was obviously a rookie last year, put up, I don't know, mid 700 yards. I don't remember the exact number, but I think a lot of people were disappointed in that, similar to Harrison.
Yeah, between Caleb's struggles and competing for targets with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, it's about what we expected from Rome. This year, he's kind of walking into a bigger role. Keenan's gone. Hopefully a second-year leap from Caleb, and Odunze could definitely deliver on the promise that we had as a rookie.
Yeah. And he does provide the stack with Caleb Williams here. We talked about it last year when GeorgiaMike made the draft selection of Williams and then Odunze both in the first round.
Yep.
He's got that stack just waiting to pop off if they can get on the same page and the offense can click.
Yeah, we thought last year maybe GeorgiaMike was a year away early in the season when we did this season preview before the season started. We said, well, he might be a year away. He had a lot of rookies, a lot of young guys. We wanted to see how they developed. Turns out he sped his clock up a little bit when the rookies and second-year guys were super productive early on in the season. And now, we're projecting even more from them. Now he looks like a legitimate playoff team. Just missed out last year. Right now, he looks like he may be in the driver's seat for a playoff spot.
It certainly looks that way early on.
And it's really on the strength of this wide receiver room.
Yeah, we haven't even touched on the lower half of the room here. Jaden Reed obviously is, by production, been the fantasy wide receiver 1 in that Green Bay room. We've got Golden coming in. Watson going to miss most, if not all, of the year. Who knows exactly how that shakes out, but I'm sure Reed will be productive again.
Yeah, he's been their most productive receiver. He just plays the third most snaps because they refused to put him out there in 2 wide sets for some reason. I don't know why take your best receiver off the field, but that's the genius of the Green Bay Packers offense.
I don't think we can criticize the Green Bay Packers offense. They won like 3 games with Malik Willis starting last year. At this point, I'm just gonna.
It doesn't mean it's right.
At this point, I'm just gonna trust the coaching staff. You're only playing Reed on 3 wide. Okay, you've earned the benefit of the doubt in my book. All right. So the lower part of this room, we've got Quentin Johnson, Kayshon Boutte, Chimere Dike, Yosefas, Malik Washington, Ray McLeod, Gabe Davis, Hunter Renfro. There are some guys here who are going to put up baseline weeks, and guys who could. We saw 2 touchdown games from Quentin Johnson last year. Maybe he does it again this year.
Yeah, right now, Kayshon is running with the starters for the Patriots, he may end up being that role or sharing it with Mac Hollins to some degree. But if he can separate there, he's going to be out there for a lot of snaps. We saw what Yoshi did last year when Higgins missed some time. He was productive, scoring touchdowns at least. Ray McLeod, right now we talked about Mooney being hurt, so he's locked into a decent target share early on the season. There's some guys that are pretty far down his depth chart that could be weekly starters in these flex spots.
There's useful depth, as I like to say, useful depth. There are good pieces here that should have roles, maybe not every week. Maybe you'll need an injury in front of them, but that's going to happen. These guys will see the lineup. Maybe not every week, but you'll have somebody there more often than not.
This is how you end up with a number 2 in the league wide receiver ranking. You got stars at the top. You've got good depth throughout all the way to the bottom. He's got a lot of bodies, but he's got a lot of useful bodies as well. It's not just a ton of empty value here.
Exactly. All right, we're going to move over to the tight end room. We have a tight end rank of 7, so middle of the pack here. We have at the top Kyle Pitts, Michael Mayer, and then it gets sort of rough. Cade Stover, Colby Parkinson, Brevin Jordan, Foster Moreau, and Austin Hooper. Yeah,
Austin Hooper at the bottom is probably going to be in his lineup most weeks, considering the rest of these guys. Hey, Kyle Pitts is locked in. He hasn't quite delivered on the rookie year hype that he had.
Man, your talent for understatement today knows no bounds. Kyle Pitts has been wildly disappointing since that rookie year.
But disappointing relative to the expectations he gave us.
Yeah.
As far as for this league in this format, Pitts is a locked in every week starter.
Well,
no
even
question.
for real life NFL purposes, he's wildly disappointing for a 4th overall pick, but for a starting tight end, he's fine.
Right. We'll see if Michael Penix can kind of unlock him a little better than Kirk Cousins could.
Yeah, Penix does tend to throw the ball deeper more than Cousins based on, our small sample size and going back to his college career. And that is what they tend to have Pitts running for routes, so maybe it'll work out.
Yeah, but the rest of these guys are strict backups. Mayer, Stover, Parkinson, Jordan, Hooper. These are all guys that are at best
a room that could use
number 2 tight ends
in their team. Use some addressing here.
Yeah, he's got a few bodies, but no one that you're really expecting fantasy production on a weekly basis. At least he has a lot of them, so hopefully you can get some kind of score from tight end 2 throughout the year.
Exactly. If he gets, the random touchdown, the 3 catches for 25 yards and a first down, it's representative, but it's not going to be. There's not going to be any boom games from this group.
Yeah, Hooper did a lot of that last year, but again, that was in a much thinner wide receiver room that the Patriots have hopefully addressed, added a lot of bodies this offseason. May not be as many targets to go around for the tight end 2 on the team.
Yeah, I think he just signed a new contract there too, so
he did.
It's someone that the team wanted to keep around, so presumably they have something in mind for him.
Right, he's a really good tight end too, not for fantasy, but for an NFL team.
Yeah, except for that 1 year. Right. Everybody remember that 1 year in Atlanta where he was basically like, I think the tight end 2 or something crazy.
Was that the Matt Ryan noodle arm year?
I don't actually think it was. I think it was when that offense was still good and he just happened to have a year. I don't remember there being like some underlying reason for it. I think it just sort of happened. No one could explain it.
Either way, it was a long time ago.
Yeah. All right, let's move over to the draft capital here. We have a draft rank of 9. This is where he's a little bit thinner. You talked about last year how early in the season, some of those guys started producing and GeorgiaMike tried to accelerate the timeline a bit. He spent most of his 26 capital in doing so. Right now, the only 26 pick he has is a 3rd round pick. Yeah. All the 27 capital is still intact in there. Nothing extra, but he's got all his own picks there.
Yep. Yeah, not a lot of capital to draw from if he needs to fill holes like tight end 2 in the season. He does have a 3rd round pick, but yeah, pretty much everything else is just 27 and beyond. So if he wants to dip into those, if he's getting close enough where he's trying to make a playoff push, we may see it, but he also may be skittish after going all in last year and not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
we'll see how he treats the Capitol this season.
I think we'll see how the season starts to develop before he makes any big decisions.
Yeah, I think that goes for all of these teams.
Well, I think that's the way the entire league is thinking right now.
So many teams in the same kind of frisky fringe playoff tier that we really don't know which way the teams are going to go, and the managers of these teams don't know which way they're going to go. A lot of it will probably play out the first month or so of the season.
It'll be interesting to watch. You know what's going to happen is we're going to go through
be 500.
Exactly. We're going to go through 4 weeks of the season, and the top team is going to be like 5-3, and the bottom team is going to be 3-5. It's going to be we're not going to have any clarity whatsoever.
Have a 10-way tie for third place.
That wraps up GeorgiaMike's team. He's got the overall rank of 6, if I didn't say that before. All right, so that brings us to the end of the teams for this week. So we have covered now, in order, Mr. Good News, Judd, Criddle, Flea, JMC, Rugg, Flinch, and GeorgiaMike. For those of you not keeping track at home, that leaves Al's team, my team, Mel Crisp's team, and Big's team. I don't know why I gave Mel his full name. I felt like halfway through there.
One of those teams is a shocking Final Four.
You can say whose team it is. Go ahead. What am I doing in that group is really the question that everyone should be asking right now.
I'm very interested to know how much money you paid to Dynasty Daddy to get you into this Final Four group. But I guess we'll find out next week.
It's actually my secret. I am the Dynasty Daddy.
Okay, well, that makes sense then.
No, so we have those 4 teams left to cover last week. You can all come back and find out what the hell my team is doing there. The answer is I have no fucking clue. Are we allowed to swear on here?
Yeah, as long as you're past like the first 30 seconds, you're fine.
All right.
We won't get demonetized for the $0 that we make.
Demonetized. I think we're closer to being paid to not do this than we are to being paid to do this. All right. So we'll cover those 4 teams next week. And we will ask the most important question is, why is my team there?
Looking forward to that.
Yep. So any final thoughts on this group before we get out of here?
Just another of the continuation of the giant frisky tier. Yeah. We're going to get into the according to Dynasty Daddy, the top contenders next week. So
all 4 of those teams that we haven't gotten to are listed as contenders for the contender tier. We'll get to that next week, though. All right, we will catch you all next time, but until then,
see you in the league chat.